Hello YouTube modelers, welcome back to my channel. I want to thank all my viewers and subscribers for tuning in. So here's the status of my 32 Ford Street Rod Ramblers69 Appreciation Build. So I rattle can the paint. So here's the body. Black paint will always remain challenging and difficult for me, but I got a little bit of sheen differences or ghosting on the black paint. I actually had a disaster when I was spray painting it. So I just wiped it off and redid it. So not too bad. This is still waiting for it to cure. So when it cures, I'm gonna see if it can polish the heck out of the body. Interior came out good. I probably will do the black inserts. The hood came out excellent. I had a little bit of dripping, but I wiped it off and corrected it. So this is before polish. Top came out excellent. Frame, I shaved off all the fenders and I cut off the front and rear bumper brackets, similar to Mike over at Model Speed Shop. He's also doing a 32, same kit. I think he's doing the same idea with the shaved fenders and removing the bumpers. And here are the other parts. Originally the tires I was going to use raised white lettering decals, but in looking at the internet I noticed around this time a lot of people either had black walls or white walls. I wanted the black and red combo, so I'm going to use the stock wheels. But another option is if I pull out some spokes from a 32 Ford from AMT, but the problem is that AMT is a 125 scale and there's a 124, so there might be some fit issues. But I don't know, I didn't really dig into my parts bin yet. As far as the ride height goes, I'm going to wait until I get maybe the body and the interior in first. I probably won't channel it because this tub is going to be in the way when it sits down like that. So I think I won't be channeling it, but I will adjust the height slightly so it's raked with a slight nose dive. And I don't want it too low like a rat rod where it's sitting on the floor, but I don't want it like a high boy either. I don't want it too high. So I was looking over the suspension. It looks kind of easy to lower. And then here are the remaining parts. I will be highlighting the word Ford on the hubcap, so I have to do that. So just a lot of paint detailing. So I could use the Steelies, but I might use the hubcaps. So that's where I stand now with the 32 Ford. The sub-assemblies are completed. So I just want to show you what it looks like. You have the hood with the side panels, and of course the louvers, scallop louvers, whatever they're called. Of course they're molded closed. You have the body. The body, I use Rust-Oleum 2X gloss black with a red primer underneath. It came out looking more like semi-gloss, a little shinier than satin, but not as good as high gloss. But it's decent. I think for this hot rod, it should be okay, because it kind of looks like a hot rodder who just had enough money for the mechanical components, and then just had $29.95 left over for an Earl Schreib's cheap black lacquer paint job. So that's what it looks like. So it doesn't look too bad. It's just not as shiny or smooth. And then the chassis. So what I did was I cut the fenders. It's always better to cut a little less because you can always shave more, because I actually shaved a little too much over here and I had to build it back up with a little bit of putty. So I shaved the fenders, cut the bumper brackets front and back, and then I dropped both front and rear. How I did that was in the rear, it was basically just a plastic post that resembled a shock absorber or something. But basically I cut the plastic post that was supposed to support the body from the axle. So I cut the post, and then this center piece that looks like the letter U, I cut the tab that's supposed to go inside, and I made it flush, and then since I had the room, it just lays flat onto the chassis. There's no tab that goes in. That way I was able to lay it nice and flat. The front, there's a leaf spring that spans the full width of this drop axle. So what I did was, the center or the apex of the inverted leaf spring, I cut it, and instead of it being mounted under the chassis, it's mounted to the side of the chassis. So I cut it in half, and I gauged the width of this section of the chassis. So basically I'm dropping 1/16 or 1/8 of an inch both front and back. Everything paired up pretty nicely, but that's what I did with the front. I'm not going to wire it, or I'm not going to put seatbelts on it. I just want to keep it plain and simple. This is the interior. It's very simple. It's just a tub with the shifter, the steering wheel. I did drill out the holes on the steering wheel spokes. I still have to put the decal for the instrument panel, but there is raised detail if you want to do dry brushing, but I'm going to just use the decals. One nice touch is that they have the glass etched. I remember people used to do these in the 80s. They used to put roses or flowers or people's names, so it has, I guess, flowers on that side piece of glass. It's etched into the clear plastic. So that's pretty neat. It's a nice touch. Not much on the firewall except for something that I just painted in gold to give it that brass look. No idea what it is. I put the black inserts. There are these two molding indentations, which I didn't get rid of, so they're pretty deep. So unless you're going to put headrests or something, but there's nothing you can do about it. So I'm just going to piece everything back together and put some decals on it. But I just want to show you that you can use it, you can assemble it like a hot rod, like with no engine cover, and use the steelies. So over here, I put a little bit of putty on the end of the axles because the wheels keep sliding off. But you can just use the steelies, they look just as good. That's the steely look. You can just, if you can find two chrome braces, but you can have the open engine, or the hood down. Looks equally as nice. But I'm going to be adding the hubs, because they say Ford on it. So I think I'm going to be using the hubs. But that's what it looks like if you want to use the steelies or expose engine, which a lot of hot rodders do. So I just want to show you that before I loaded everything in. As far as the headlights, it's basically the original headlight assembly that comes on that arch that's attached to the front fenders. All I did was cut it right below the headlight assembly, and then I put the left one on the right one and the right one on the left, because it basically is an arch, right? So this one really goes on this side, this one really goes on that side, and then I used the connecting that says V8. I glued it on the bottom because I like that V8. So that's why, that's what it looks like. So I just basically just adjusted stuff. I really couldn't use any other wheels or tires because I couldn't really find something that I liked. If you're going to use steelies, you can just use the chrome wheels that came with it, but I'm going to use the hubcaps. I was considering spokes, but that came from a 1/25th scale, and there's a 1/24th scale, so there's a slight difference. So I basically just used whatever came in the kit and just modified it. So let me put everything together and I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm finally done. Here we are at the final reveal of the Old Tom Ramblers69 Appreciation Build. It was a good kit. It's a low parts count, but you can do a lot with this kit with a modeling knife and your creativity. But it is a low parts count, and my buddy Dave Parker informed me that this used to be the little deuce, so I looked it up on ScaleMates, and I think this is a derivative of the little deuce. But I think back then the little deuce came with a soft top, it came with 5-spoke wheels, white wall tires. I think it had more. This is more bare bones, but that's fine because bare bones kits allow you to concentrate on the paint job or creative and other aspects of the build. So here is the review. Tom, I hope you like the 32 Ford. I did it in more of a hot rod style. I of course always liked the black body with the red wheel combo, so I kept it red and black. So I showed you guys how I dropped the front and rear and chopped the fenders, but look at that low front. Man, that's low. Big headlights. Even though it's a low parts count, I'm kind of impressed with the detailing on the surface of the back of the drum brakes, and they left a nice space between the wheel and the drums, which looks more realistic. It's got the louvered hoods, of course the etched glass. I usually don't use that many decals, but I kind of like the flame decal. That's why I originally chose black, because I knew it would be a great offset for the yellow, white, orange flames. I went for the Ford hubs. I don't know if you can read. It says Ford. Should say Ford. And also when I dropped the height, I wanted to maintain the distance of the circumference of the tire to be about even as the rear fender, so it looks about even, because originally it was rather high. It was like this high, and then there was too much space between the top. Can't do anything about the sides, but the top was a little too high, so I think I lowered it just enough so that it's even spacing between the fender, the mark of where the fender was, and the tire. And of course I love those tail lights, those fluted stems for the tail lights. I chose the Illinois license plate because I thought the yellow license plate was better than that dark blue California plates. Paint job isn't the best. Normally I would send this to you, Tom, but it's a spray can job and it's not my best work, but I just want to do a quick turnaround on this. So not the best paint job, but it kind of fits this because it's like a hot rodder that just wanted something he can drive, so the paint job was in showroom condition. Just one thing to be careful about, they tell you to paint the shifter knob black, and then they give you an 8-ball decal which is in black, so a black number 8 on top of a black knob, you're not going to see it, so I had to switch to the eyeball. The decal looks pretty nice for the instrument panel. I blackened the original clutch and brake, and then I don't know if that's the original accelerator, but it kind of looks like a aftermarket hot foot. I did not do the white pinstriping on the rear trunk lid. I was tempted to hide some of these blemishes, but I did not do the white pinstriping. I did not put on the deck of cards that read 3 and a 2 for 32, and it says Little Deuce on it. Did not use the t-shirt with the flames on it. Did not use the Maltese Falcon, the Maltese Cross on the side vent. They also gave you an advertisement that says Eat at Joe's. Did not do that. So I think minimal decals, flames, was a good, nice touch. So even though it's a low parts count, Monogram was able to keep the key features of the 32 Ford, which to me is always the front chrome spacer, that V8, the front steering and suspension braces and rods, the rear gas tank, and that iconic windshield frame. So to me, I'm glad that Monogram kept those, even though they kept the parts down to a minimum. So let's take a look at the engine. I believe the engine is a Chevy engine because the distributor's in the back. And the exhaust manifold looks very familiar. Did not wire it, but I did put black panel accent for the valve covers. And instead of painting in orange, I want to keep the black and red motif, so that's why the block is in red. But pretty nice. Of course, you can always leave it with the hood off and maybe find 2 chrome braces and do that. But I think I like the way it turned out. I'm glad I lowered it. It has a aggressive nose down rake to it. And that's pretty much it. Oh, one thing I wanted to warn you guys, if you use this flame, you're gonna have to cut it really close in between the flames because one of them goes over the hinge. So what I did was I just used a modeling knife and I cut it to allow the clear part over the hinge so it would seat correctly. It would lay down correctly. But that's pretty much it. So Tom, I hope you like it. I think I know you well enough that I think this is up your alley, or this is the style that you like. And I will have stills at the end. So thanks for watching.
Like a